So welcome everybody. So tonight we're going to talk about recruiting, and I've actually asked in just a few moments Rachel to role play with me. However, in all fairness to Rachel and to you all, it is a totally cold role play. In fact, it's probably more of a real play than it is a role play, because the technique that I want to talk to you about tonight, Rachel's been practicing and using, and she got her first recruit with it yesterday. So that's very exciting. But you know, I hear a lot of people that sometimes shy away from recruiting for fear that they're going to be pushy. Has anybody ever thought that, felt that, or had someone tell them that? I'm all like discombobbled here. Sorry, guys. And I can't remember which way to go because I'm in my mirror, right? Anyway, okay, let's try that again. I'm sure you heard that and know that, you know, that's a big fear of people. And of course, you know, I always have people tell me, well, I don't want to be pushy. And it's so funny because the smart aleck Lori wants to say, well, do you think I want to be pushy? I mean, I don't think very few people want to be pushy. And those that are pushy, it's normally because they're self-centered or they're in a crisis moment and all they can do is think about themselves. So the best way to never come across as pushy, and the best, quite honestly, the best way to recruit is by thinking of others. Now, for so long in this industry, we've been taught, you know, the 50 years I've been aware of or been alive, but the 26, almost 27 years I've been in the industry, originally I was taught, find a need and fill it. And, you know, quite honestly, I think that worked really well about 25 years ago. However, in today's society, there's a lot of way for women's needs to be filled in the workplace that weren't available 25 years ago. There's more work from home options. There's definitely more direct selling companies. The internet and social media has definitely changed the way we do business. So that, you know, very simple answer of finding a need and filling it, and this was about the only thing that could do it, is no longer the case. So we not only need to find a need and fill it, we need to look for good people. But more importantly, we need to let good people know they would be good. Probably many of you, like myself, possibly even within days of joining DCD or your first direct selling company, you never imagined this would be what you would be doing, right? I mean, I know if you'd asked me a week before I got into the industry, I probably would have laughed in your face. And maybe there's been some people that have laughed in your face, and I probably did laugh in some. You know, I thought those direct sellers were uneducated, no education, blue-haired, 80 years old, you know, nothing better to do with their life kind of people. I didn't realize they were professional, driven, and you know, that 90% of the women in the U.S. that make a six-figure income make it in direct sales. I just didn't know that. I wasn't educated. I also didn't know what it took to be a successful direct seller. And since I didn't know, I assumed I couldn't be one. And I didn't say those words, but when you don't know how to be successful, we go, well, I could never do that, right? You know, I could say I could never be a doctor, but if I put myself through the schooling and did the study, and you know what? I could be. I could be an accountant. I could be, you know, whatever if I took the time to learn it. But the beauty of direct selling is we all are actually born with traits that help us to be successful. And through life and work experiences, we have skills that are transferable. And this is about the only business where that is actually true. I have no life experience or educational skills at this point or work experiences that would make me a great doctor. But my doctor friends have life experience and skills and education. My teacher friends, my nurse friends, my counseling friends, my accountant friends, my sales friends, all have skills that can make them good at this business. And you're probably going, maybe, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I want you to think about this. When you think about what makes a great direct seller, well, most people are going to think of things like outgoing, great personality, easy to talk in front of others, that type of thing. However, let me tell you, there's a lot of introverts in our business that talking. In fact, I might be looking at a couple right now that, you know, standing in front of a crowd was not what they had in mind as something they thought they would do. And a crowd to them might be 3 or more, but they're highly, highly successful. We talk a lot about how people can talk, but let me tell you, some of the best direct sellers out there aren't the ones that talk so well. They're the ones that use these, and they listen really well, and they hear. People that are organized and have good, thinking and thought processing and reasoning skills, which you normally find in a complete different profession, maybe more like on the operational or accounting side of the world, that maybe don't think they would make great direct sellers, but they do because they're logical thinkers. And so I won't go on and on, but my point is there's a lot of traits, and just about everybody has some of them that makes for a good direct seller. We just have to now look for them, identify them, relay them to the person we would like to have on our team before we ever invite them, because 9 times out of 10, if you say to 90% or more of the population, oh, you would be great at this, you ought to do it, what do they say? Oh, no way, I could never do that. How many of you have heard that one before? I could never do that. Heck, you probably said it before you joined the industry. So what we want to do is we want to build their confidence. So let me think of an example. I'll use my sister. Her name is Lynn. My sister Lynn has worked in the medical profession, but not, or she's worked in a medical office. She's not a medical professional. She's more on the operational side. She's very organized. She's got a great personality. She does everything with a smile on her face. She's a very giving person. She loves to help other people. She completes jobs. She's a great team builder because when like her friends are on vacation, she'll like try to fill in, and she's always trying to help around. So wouldn't you say those are great skills as a direct seller? Wouldn't you love to have people on your team that love to help each other out? When they see somebody else's shortcomings, they say, hey, let me help you out with that. Or when the team is working on a goal, they get in there and they drive the other people around them to make sure everybody comes together. Lynn might not be the most outgoing. We might be different in that regard. She certainly doesn't see herself as a salesperson. However, Lynn, people listen to her. She has high integrity. So if she says, there's a great restaurant down the street, you ought to go try it. Guess what? People listen. There's a great movie or a great book. They read it or they go watch it. That's a salesperson. That's really what selling is all about. But Lynn doesn't see herself, I promise you, as a salesperson. In fact, her words always were to me before she was in this industry is, that's Bill's job, because her husband's a car salesman. That's Bill's job. I don't do that. He's the salesperson. And honestly, my sister is as good or better because of who she is. Now, the next thing that I have to think about is, okay, now I've identified what's in her. Now I'm going to identify what do we have, since I know her, that I think she would enjoy. Well, my sister loves to shop. So there's no doubt that extra money, no matter how much she has, they're not independently wealthy. They do very well. But she loves to shop. She loves to travel for free. She loves to have friends. Her husband's not real social. So this really fills a need for her because she gets to hang out with the girls and feel very social and do things that are very social. So there's a lot of things that we can deliver to her. So that's just, I'm going to table that for a second, and we're going to focus. And when I role play with Rachel, we are going to act as if Rachel is someone I know, because before this weekend is over, you can actually use these skills, whether you have parties or not, because all of you know people. And whether you think you've approached everyone you know or not, let me just tell you the answer is not. Because I've been doing this for almost 27 years, and I still have not approached everyone I know. I've probably approached everyone I'm comfortable with, and there's a big difference in that. But you can also go back to them, and you're going to learn this in this way, and you're not going to feel pushy at all. But in case you do have parties, let me give you some examples of how going forward this weekend and from here on out, how to look for people in that very quick setting that would have great business skills. Think about that person, that person that always wants to win all the games. You think you were giving away a flat screen television. They're fighting over the, pass, left, right game or drawing the picture or whatever it is you're doing. That person is driven. They're motivated. They're a winner. Wouldn't you want those personality traits on your Dove team? Or how about the person that's going, would you like me to go get that out of the kitchen for you? Can I pass out the catalogs? Is there anything that you need? Do you have enough pens? That person's a helper. They're a team player. They love for everyone to feel part. Wouldn't you love to have that person on your team? And how about the person that just sits there and very, with a lot of intent, really listens to what you have to say? And you can tell they're processing and thinking about how they're going to do this. And if they do ask a question, it's a question of real value. It's not a fluffy question, as I like to say. It's a very valuable question. Well, this person really is a great listener. A lot of times they're a very objective thinker. They are going to not react. So you're probably not going to have any drama with this person. How many of you'd like a few of those on your team? Right? So do you see how at every party, and that's just a few examples, I could keep going. Now do you believe that, now that we're thinking about, there are prospects at every single party? Do you agree with me now that you've heard this? So when we do this, the first thing that we want to do in every case is approach the prospect with what we see in them. So if we see someone that's wanting to win at all the games, we're going to say something like, you know, Jen, I love having people at my party like you, because it's so much fun to have someone that's so driven and competitive and loves to win, because I like to win also. And, you know, I see those traits in you. And because of that, I know you already have what it takes to be super successful in this business. People with a winning attitude like you do fantastic. And, you know, I heard you saying earlier that you wish you didn't have to leave so quick, but you got to get up and go to that job in the morning. And I'd love to show you how with those traits and that winning attitude and spirit that you have, that maybe this could someday replace it, or at least be a fun place to look forward to once or twice a week. Now, do you think I have a better chance of getting a Cocoa Chat with Jen than, you would be so good at this, you ought to do what I do, right? See the difference? Apply the same principles to the team player. Apply the same principles to the intent listener. Apply the same principle to the person that asked all those questions. Apply the same principle to the person that had tons of ideas and recipes and wanted to share and give to everyone. So you can do that. Well, guess what, ladies? So far we don't have any gentlemen, but gentlemen out in video land, you have the same opportunity with people that you know. You know, make a list of all the traits that you think would make a good chocolatier. And on mine, it's going to be a good talker and a good listener, right? You love people that are comfortable talking, but you also want people that can listen. You want the outgoing person, but you also want that person that's introspective and a deep thinker. You want that person that wants to win the games, but it's okay to talk to the one that wasn't even so interested in playing. Maybe they're about fundraising, and maybe they're about doing classes more than they are about parties. Maybe your terminology just needs to change. And think about how you can approach them. So today what I want to do is I'm going to have Rachel come off, and I'm going to set a scenario. And I'm going to do it as if I do know a little bit about Rachel. I know that Rachel is a hairdresser by trade. I know that when we've spoken, Rachel's very, very easy to talk to. But because I just left the hairdresser, do y'all like my Nashville hair? We were practicing before I got stuck in traffic. Rachel, I'm going to talk to you as if you're my hairdresser, Shelly, because I do know so much about her. She's been doing my hair for 26 years. And so if I were to call her, I'm going to talk to her, and Rachel's going to, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to act like I know her as well, because I want you to listen to how I ask lots of questions before I ever talk about the food cards, okay? So I want to get to know her before I go any further. And that is key. So often we get so excited when someone shows any interest. We, for lack of a better word, start vomiting information on them that how they're going to be so great and da-da-da-da. Let me just tell you all, if this business was about all that Dove had to offer, and don't take this offensively, but we wouldn't need you. They wouldn't need me. They would just put a billboard up on the freeway, and they'd put an ad in the paper and on LinkedIn, and people would go line up at, the Dove Chocolate Discovery's office to sign up, because we have the business out there that people join people in this industry. Many of you have heard me say, I've never met anyone that said, I don't like that person, I don't trust that person, but I'm going to join their team anyway. They need to know that. Another one of my little sayings, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So those questions show that you care. So Rachel, are you kind of ready to get started?
I am ready.
Okay. So Rachel, I want you to answer me just as naturally as you can. I don't want you to specifically try to make it difficult for the sake of being difficult, because I don't think people do that on purpose. But I also don't want you to be easy, because I don't think people do that for the sake of being easy. If your normal responses are easy or difficult, then that's okay. I'm not afraid of that. And I don't even know what her answer is going to be. All I asked Rachel to do was, will you role play with me? So I have no idea where this is going, but that's the beauty of it. So I've called Rachel on the phone. I just have gotten my hair done, and I said, I really want to talk to you about something. I know you've got a client in the waiting room. Can I give you a call tomorrow when you're at home and you're not being distracted? So that's where we're at, okay? So, hey, Rachel, how are you?
Hi, Lori, how are you?
I am well. Thanks so much for being willing to talk with me a little bit today. I know you know what I do for a living, because you've been doing my hair for a little while. But, one thing that I've never gotten to tell you in the context of what I do is, how much I appreciate you and what you do and the kind of service that you give. And I just really want to, to take a minute and sincerely have the opportunity to tell you that, when I am sitting in your chair, I feel like $1 million. You have such great people skills, and you always really seem to listen to what I say, whether it's about my hair or my family or my job, and you always really seem to care about me. And I just want to let you know that really means a lot to me.
Thank you, Lori. That's very sweet.
Well, I hope you know it's really true, or I wouldn't have taken the time to do this. And I know the last time yesterday when I was at the salon, you had mentioned that you were kind of maybe looking for something to do on the side that would be fun, but that could bring in an extra income, because your daughter now is at the age that she's like in every sport imaginable, and there's only so many hours a day you can be on your feet and do hair, and to add more would just be exhausting. And I'm so fortunate to have my chocolate business, and I know you've enjoyed some of the products, and I know your husband Matt loves the cinnamon dusted almonds. And I thought, well, what better person than Rachel to join Dove Chocolate and us be business partners, because she already has exactly what it takes. She has the people skills, she listens to people, she gives great customer service. You know how to make people happy, and chocolate will just make it that much easier. And you've got an instant clientele sitting right there every day that you can put chocolate in their hands, and if they like it, you can tell them where to get it. And if you can do a couple of parties a week if you wanted to, just to bring in some extra money and be able to pay for all those things that Riley's got on her plate.
I don't know if I would have the time to do that.
Well, do you mind if I just, ask you a few questions and get to know you a little better, and then I can share with you and see if it sounds like it's something that might fit?
Sure.
Okay. So I know you say you don't know if you would have time, but let me ask you something. Do you have any I know you have a Facebook account, because I know you have your own salon Facebook, but do you have any other social media or Instagram or Pinterest or any of those types of things that you do?
Yes, I'm on Pinterest, and my kids are trying to teach me how to use Instagram.
Oh, cool. Awesome. And do you have a personal Facebook as well as the one for the salon?
Yes.
Great. Well, even with just one, they say the average American spends about 20 hours just piddling through those things on a weekly basis, not consecutive, of course, hopefully. And the really cool thing about this business is that about 5 to 10 hours a week, you can make about $500 to $1,500 a month and still have time, to do those things, but also have time to turn some of it into money. Would you say 5 to 10 hours would be a fair amount if you could make, a decent income?
Yeah, that would be fair.
And, I know you're married. If you were to do something like this and you could just translate some of that type of time, how do you think Matt would feel if he knew you could bring in an extra 100 to 200, maybe even $300 a week, just being gone 5 to 10 hours at the most, to help get you guys caught up with all Sarah's expenses?
He would be supportive. He probably wouldn't be happy about me not being home that much more.
Okay.
Because that puts more on him at home, but he would be happy about the money.
Okay, so maybe a little less time some weeks and a little more time, and maybe making sure you're being really special to him on the times you are home.
Right.
That usually works, doesn't it?
Yes.
Have you ever done anything in the direct selling world before?
I have. I've sold 31 for a couple of years.
Oh, cool. Now, was that a good experience or a not so good experience?
It was high and low points.
Tell me what you liked about it.
Well, I liked getting free things.
Okay.
For one, I liked free items, and I did really enjoy socializing with people, not while I'm at the salon, because it's a very different kind of socializing.
Right. Yeah. You can probably be more friendly at times, huh?
Friendly, and I can be more interactive. Sometimes at work, I just listen.
Oh, I love that. That's good to know. And what were kind of some of the low points? What were the things that you weren't so crazy
about? It became oversaturated in my area.
Okay.
So it was very difficult to talk to people about the product and not have them already committed to somebody.
Totally understand that. Let me ask you this. Besides me, do you know anybody else in your area that does Dove?
I do not.
Well, it's because there's not many of us. So now you don't have to worry about that. So you don't have to worry about that at all. And I do want you to know that I think if you think you got a lot of free stuff there, I bet when you see how Dove does their frees, you will be overwhelmed. And of course, you'll get the opportunity to have that socializing and interactive and that type of thing. So
they do a lot for the people that direct sales for them.
Yes, like I just earned a trip for 2 to Maui, and it was like really, really not difficult. Like I couldn't believe it because all my friends that have ever earned trips with other direct selling companies, they've been there for years and years. And I've only been here 7 months now, and I thought only like the top people got to go, but they really make it an even playing field and make it where it's possible for people of all levels to be part. I got a really cool 3/4 zip sweatshirt, like very nice, not like a very nice kind of Under Armour style sweatshirt last month. I've earned a bag. I've earned over $400 worth of chocolate in my Quick Start program. Plus, I earned about $500 in cash for recruiting, and one of my recruits has been recruiting, and I've gotten $225 in Coco Cash to buy all my supplies with.
Oh, that's a lot.
I know, just in 7 months, and I'm sure there's other things I'm forgetting too, but that's kind of top level, the things that are first and foremost on my mind. And I only do about 2 parties a week.
Okay.
So let me ask you this. Now, you've shared a little bit about yourself with me. If you saw these cards that say time, support, fun, money, and simple, which one of those cards kind of resonates with you the most?
That it would be simple and money would be the two that
okay.
Out.
So let me just tell you, so there's nothing easier than a chocolate party because it's a matter of people just eating chocolate. It's just like having friends over. The only 31 party I've ever been to, she set up a pretty big display. Did you do that when you were at 31?
Yep.
Well, I don't have to set up really a display. I just take the chocolate they're going to eat. So there's a real simpleness to that. And of course, I don't have to pack anything up because they really, very little because they've eaten it all. So that's really awesome. You can't really sell chocolate because either people like it or they don't. You know, it's a flavor thing. So, whereas sometimes I feel like sometimes with bags and different things, you're really trying to get them to buy into what they're going to do with that bag and how they're going to use it. With chocolate, if they like it, they buy it. And if they don't like it, you certainly don't want to try to get them to buy it, because that would be pushy. But what you can do is suggest other things and how it can make meals simpler and how it can make life more fun. Because do you know that it's impossible to say the word chocolate without smiling?
I did not know that.
It is. It's humanly impossible. So it's just a fun word. When I tell people, I tell you 100% of the time when people ask me what I do, and I say, I am actually a chocolatier with Dove Chocolate Discoveries, and I get to go into people's home and treat them to free chocolate, a shopping experience, and a cool business opportunity. They go, "You do what?" And they immediately light up. And I don't even know if they like chocolate, but it must just sound like a really cool kind of thing to be part of. And I've just never seen that response before. So simple, let me tell you, it's truly simple. And our systems are simple, and I would be your sponsor, and I have this really great upline. Her name's Jen, and she's there for you, and she has an upline, Kim, and she's there for you. I mean, it's just like this whole team of people that are there to support you. That, in my world, that makes it even more simple. Does that feel simple enough to you? Is that what you're kind of looking for?
Yeah, that sounds right up my alley.
Great. And at that 5 to 10 hours, because I know you said you were really busy, if you knew that you could, you said money, if I could show you how to turn that money into $500 to $1,500 a month, would that feel like a good enough return to make sure that, Matt wasn't complaining if you were bringing an extra $500 to $1,500 and only being out of the house maybe once or twice a week for 2 to 3 hours at a time?
Absolutely.
Well, let me just tell you, that's how it works. Because an average party, I always tell people to schedule about 5 hours per party, but you're not going to be at a party 5 hours. About an hour to prep. And by the way, if you hold 2 parties a week, you could prep for all 8 of those parties in that 1 hour. But I'm going to do it for easy math, an hour per party. And then like 2 to 3 hours at the party, I try to get there a half an hour early so that I can make sure I meet all the guests as they're coming in. The party should take about an hour, and then another half hour to do orders. It's only 2 hours. And remember, there's not a bunch of stuff to pack up or anything. So, and if you're there more than 3, you probably should get the heck out of Dodge. You've probably worn out your welcome. So, you're only there a few hours. And then, and I always say in the beginning, an hour to follow up and put your orders in, until you get used to the system. So 2 to 3 hours out of the house and 1 to 2 in per party. And if you just do the equivalent of one party, average party a week at $400, that's $1,600 a month. 25% profit on that, that's our base commission, is actually $400. But we do crazy math at Dove, and at $1,600, we give you a 5% raise. So you'd make $480 just doing one party a week. But then we up that at $2,400, which is equivalent of 6 parties. And at $3,000, you make 40%. That's just an equivalent of 2 parties a week. And your income goes from $480 to about $1,260. That's pretty impressive, don't you think?
That's a huge.
Would you like to just go to work 2 more hours at the salon and be able to more than double, almost triple your income?
Absolutely.
And I bet when you tell Matt that, he's going to ask you to hold more parties. You might
probably tell me this.
So, if that would satisfy the simplicity and the money with the time that you have, it kind of feels like this is a perfect fit.
It really sounds more appropriate for me than I thought.
Well, good. So, is there anything that would keep you from getting started right now?
Nope.
Well, let's do it. Are you near your computer?
I am.
Okay. Let's stop there. Ladies, it really will happen that way. It's not going to happen that way every time. But why it happened that way is because of the questions I asked at the beginning. Did you notice how I was constantly bringing Matt back into the subject to reinforce his support? So at the end, she wasn't going to be able to say, well, let me talk to my husband. How many of you have heard that? Well, I want to go talk to my husband. Well, she's already said he would be supportive He'd love the money. What's she going to talk to him about? Right? I was very clear. I didn't talk to her about the support and fun because those weren't important to her. She threw two things at me, and I could tell by her body language that I had given her enough. But the most important card is the food card, and it's asking those questions. And I shared a tip the other day on one of my coaching calls, and this may help some of you. I had a number of people tell me they get so excited or scared when they go to do a Coco chat that they tend to want to just jump in and start telling them everything, and they leave the question part out. So what I had, an idea I came up with is to get you some fun, bright colored envelopes. And on the outside of the envelope, write some of the questions that you want to ask that have to do with the top card, the food card, about family, occupation, organization, dreams. And write them out here. So like, tell me about your family. What do you do? How would your husband feel? How much money would you like to make? What would you do with money? Now, in this case, I knew about what she wanted to do because she shared that with me, you know, at an earlier moment. But if she wouldn't have, but I had to ask other questions, like how would your husband feel? I always ask about their previous experience in direct sales because I was able to build upon the things that were good for her. And I was able to assure her she probably wouldn't feel the same way about the things that weren't so good, which in her case was oversaturation. Sometimes I hear it's, you know, I had to carry lots of inventory. And I'm able to say, we want to send your customers the freshest chocolate. We don't want you inventory in product. And I was able to feed that back throughout the cards that she was in. And then I did what I called an assumed close. Is there anything that sounds like a perfect fit? Is there anything that would keep you from saying, not doing this right now? And of course she said, no. Another great close is, I felt pretty confident, but if I wouldn't have been quite as confident, I might have said, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you see yourself doing this? 1 being absolutely no way, 10 being sign me up right now, and 5 not being an option. And if they say a 7, then my next question would be, well, what would it take to get you from that 7 to a 10? And when I say, is there anything that would keep you from joining, the close I used with her, if she was going to say, yes, there is, she was going to tell me, well, yeah, I just don't, blah, blah, blah. Well, then we continue the conversation till we get her comfortable at that point. So, what I want to do now is just allow any of you that have questions to ask questions before we wrap up our training. And thank you, Rachel. Rachel, did that feel, this is the first time you've been on the other end. So you weren't able, you've done this now, but you haven't been on this end of it. How did you feel? I would like you to share as the prospect being in the situation.
I didn't feel pressured at all.
Good.
I felt like it was a two-way conversation and that we were just having a comfortable conversation. I didn't feel like there was anything that I didn't feel like there was anything that made me really uncomfortable.
And is there anything that I did that you didn't feel you could do?
No, I think I could take what you did and tweak it to work for me with whoever I'm talking with.
Great. So this is how you can get that second and third recruit this weekend. And so many of you are working on that, or fourth and fifth, for gosh sakes. There's lots of money out there laying on the table for you guys, and I don't want any of you to leave it. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we wrap up? I do still have the recording going. So if it's something you don't want to have to ask on the recording, I'll close it off in about 10 seconds after our last question if we have any. And then if there's something you don't want to ask on recording, we can do it offline. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.